Now, you could say that they was confused a little bit because of the white wristband, all right? But it's still not the same as the ball. You still have time. You can still take time to look because we don't have a reason to be in a hurry here. We've got all the time in the world. So let's say that the umpire probably missed the call there, but it's not that big a deal, okay? He missed the call. No big deal. He missed the call. But let's continue the videotape and watch how it's resolved.
Finley's call. He was running out to right field. He was closest to it, and I don't know who overruled him. You know, with a three-man crew, the third base umpire is way over third base, so he can't make that call. The home plate umpire might have a decent angle on it, but the fact that he's running out to right field and has the same angle virtually as the home plate umpire, you're going to get a heck of an argument with Coach Serrano here.
During this next...
This is what I wanted to get to. And this is what this whole session's about. And if there's any money to be made on how to learn how to umpire today, this might be the tape that shows it. You have a first base umpire make a call prematurely. He missed it. They're going to change the call. Fine. No problem. It's easy to do. But now they have the guts to change the call, which is okay. Great decision. But the next thing that's going to happen is, how do they circle the wagons? Notice the third base umpire was the first one on the scene. He was over there with the first base umpire. We don't see the plate umpire for a few minutes, but the plate umpire is moving in. They are now going to make a decision, and this is where you put your coaches in the dugout, and they're now going to make a decision. And what do? They decide to change the call. Well, when that happens, somebody's going to get upset. So Serrano is going to have a mandatory, hey, wait a minute, guys, I'm coming out here, you know, I just got screwed. I don't like this. You got to explain it. Well, there's no real win here. You got to be right, and you stand on the side of what's right. So how do you fix it? It was beautiful, okay? They let the calling official, who was the first base umpire, they let the calling official take Serrano's initial outpouring of emotion. And he explains it. The crew chief, who's clearly in charge, he's a regional guy, clearly knows what he's doing, okay? He watches this action. He's standing just off to the left shoulder of the calling umpire. And at a point in time, if for no other reason, to get this over with and get back to the game, he inserts his skinny little ass in between Serrano and the first base umpire and completely obscures Serrano's vision or view of the first base umpire. Takes over the argument situation, and notice how quickly that ended after that. It was beautiful umpiring, well orchestrated, well handled, choreographed, and set up from the very beginning of the game. That is great umpiring.
There are several things that take place in this video that not only pertain to the home plate umpire, but to other crew members as well. For argument's sake, let's say it's the bottom of the ninth inning, less than 2 outs, with the score tied, and the winning run on third base. And now this happens. Remember, as a crew, we only get to see this play one time.
41 appearances. He's allowed only 2 earned runs in his last 13 appearances this season, and has probably been the most dependable reliever that Florida's had with a 2.23 ERA. A big moment here. Full count, high fly ball out to right field. Jonathan Piggott floats under it, makes the catch, tagging on his way home. It's Stevens to throw, the play at the plate, and he is out by a mile. And I think they just threw Stevens out of the game. Stevens went in high to try and knock the ball away from Buddy Monroe, and I think the home plate umpire, Paul Gillier, not only called him out, but threw him out of the game. And the Florida bench up. And they are really objecting to the play made by Stevens, and now Corky Palmer comes out. He wants an explanation as to why his cleanup hitter just got ejected.
Well, I'm a little surprised at that. I mean, that's just an aggressive play.
And after all is said and done, it's a double play that ends the inning. Southern Miss ends up scoring a couple of runs, but they lose their cleanup hitter, and it's a double play that will strand a couple of base runners, and Florida will get out of the bases-loaded jam. Another look at Stevens coming home, taking on Buddy Monroe. Could have been as they don't score with the bases loaded, and Corey Stevens, the cleanup hitter, has been ejected for coming in and taking on the catcher, Buddy Monroe. That's a different rule in college than it is in Major League Baseball in regards to what you're allowed to do as a base runner to try and knock the ball out of the catcher's hands. And Corky Palmer, the head coach of the Southern Miss Golden Eagles, is with us from the dugout for his interview. And, hey, Coach, what were you just told by the umpires as to why you lost your cleanup hitter?
Said he threw a forearm. In college baseball, you can't try to run over guys. Just totally different professional baseball. So that's what happened.
Well, what do you think about Todd McGinnis?
Okay, so the first thing you've got to do is, as the plate umpire, you have to be in position really well here. And if there is a common thing that's happening in NCAA videos over the course of the last several years, I think it is bad positioning for plate umpires. And going back to the College World Series play a few years ago where Bob Homolka was calling the plate, we had a very similar play. And he changed the whole game by making a call that actually had the national coordinator, Dave Yates, and the rules interpreter on the field out near the umpire dressing room relaying instructions to the umpire crew. And the sad part about it is Homolka, who was probably a phenomenal, great umpire in his day, Homolka was actually on the wrong side of the play, moving at the time of the ball coming in, moving at the time of the tag, and at the same time, way too close, way too close. So Gillier here, as the plate umpire, is marginally too close. He's probably 10 feet from the play. But because it's going to be happening up the first baseline, or the third baseline, it can be somewhat excused. But the real question is it's a collision play. So maybe he actually may be on the wrong side, you know, if you recognize it as a collision play. But he tags him hard as he goes around him. So he's in pretty good position, but he was also moving on the play. Did he get it right? Here's the big question. Do you think that the runner coming home in a situation like that where there's going to be a collision, do you think the runner has a right to put his hands up to protect his body from the catcher who's about to tag him? In other words, who's at fault here? Is the runner at fault because he put his hands up simply to protect himself? Well, if that's what you read, then you don't make that call. But if you think that the runner actually threw a forearm as the coach was told by the umpire, then that takes the play away from the runner. The runner can't be defended now. If he throws a forearm, he can't be defended. Is it that clear? Is it that close? In my mind, it isn't. You know, I don't really see a forearm there. I'm not going to argue the call, okay? I don't really see a forearm. You can get away with it, right? And he couldn't be down. He couldn't be any closer down on the play because he's getting tagged up the line. So you can't really say he had to be really low on that play. This is your judgment, guys. This is your judgment. Did the runner actually throw a forearm, or was he simply protecting his body as he came in? And look how far up the line he is.